It's Friday, Friday. Shoot, what can I hit? Okay, I think is this on? I think this is on. Hold on. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last live stream of this week, August 11th. I just thank you, the few of y'all who, made comments. I know we had a lot of technical difficulties, but we may be here and we're learning. We're trying to get better with each video. I'm considering maybe cutting it down to 5 or 4 days, just so you could get better quality content. Let me know if that's something you're probably more into, or is this too much? Is too little? Let me know. But you know, today is Friday. There's a song in my head as I was preparing for the topic of this video. That's a song that goes like, "L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is any more that something you adore. Now love is more than just a game for two. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for being you. Yeah, that's extra. That's extra. It's a podcast live stream, but it's also a concert. So you guys are getting a lot of value here. So please make sure you click the like and subscribe so you get just more of this awesomeness. All right. So, what are we talking about today? For those of you who don't know, my name is Joel Peckrave, and this is My Thoughts Live, where I had the crazy idea of sharing my thoughts with the internet. And so every day, well, not every day, but 6 days a week, Sunday to Friday, I live stream at 6:30, except for today, obviously, because it's not 6:30 right now, unless you happen to be watching it at 6:30. On Fridays is at 1:30 p.m. But every day I tackle a different subtopic and give my ideas on that topic. So Sunday is Social Issues Sunday, where obviously we're talking about social issues. Monday is Money Matters Monday, where we talk about entrepreneurship, the economy, side hustles, business, all that type of stuff. On Tuesday is Tabernacle Tuesdays, where we talk about church and religion. Wednesdays is Wild Card Wednesdays, where it's kind of like a free for all. I could pretty much just talk about anything I want on that day. Thursdays is This or That Thursdays, where we compare two or more ideologies. Yesterday we were talking about emotions versus logic, and on Thursdays is Family Fridays. Because how can we not talk about family when family is all that we got, right? So for today's topic, Family Fridays, we talk about family, relationships, all that stuff. Anything to do with like human relationships is what we talk about on Family Matters Friday. But for today's topic, we are talking about monogamy, or as I like to say, mega mommy, right? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna watch a couple of videos, um, just so you don't have to hear my amazing voice too much. Um, I'm gonna summarize them, what we watched, give my feedback, and then give to my final thoughts on the topic. So if you are coming in the live stream, please say hi so I know you're here. I think there was one person there, but they left. I must have scared them away with my amazing voice. But yeah, hopefully this thing works. Because I've been having technical difficulties all week. And no one's here because I can even. Let me open my app on Facebook to make sure the sound is going through. Okay. All right. Let me make sure this. Let me transition to this. And here we go. Yeah, I just typed in monogamy. So like if there's like some crazy stuff or like I didn't really watch all of these videos, but I just typed in monogamy and we're just going through the shorts and just getting a pulse, a temperature of what people are saying on monogamy. So like if there's any cursing or anything like that, just forewarning. Um I don't know. I didn't like screen all of these videos. So here we go. There it doesn't seem like we're getting sound. Hold on. Let me work on the sound and all right. Sound's not working. Why is the sound not working? System sound is going through audio. Okay, okay. Are you still hearing me? Okay, you're still hearing me. Let's try this again. All right, it's still not working. Uh, oh man, we struggling to stream already. I don't know what's going on. I think it was playing yesterday, and all the settings are the same. Um, uh, I see it here. Give me just bear with me 1 second. This is not going through. All right, we might have to forego the video for now. Let's see. Okay. All right, we can't do videos. All right, we're gonna have to go with plan B. So, dang, that really sucks. Um, I really wanted to show those videos. It's not. I'm not getting to it. Let me try one more thing. Give me just a second. Um, Video settings. Oh, why is this on here? What the heck? Got to change that. Okay. Settings. Maybe if I do it this way. Yeah, I might have to do this way. Yeah. Can you see that? Yeah, maybe I have to do it this way. Yeah, we're just gonna have to do it this way. All right. Let's see if it plays this way.
That you're supposed to have one partner forever is sort of a way to control women. If you really think about it, actually, the idea of monogamy is, I definitely should not be talking about
No, this is so good.
We all know that rich princes and counts and barons, they had mistresses all over the place.
Yep.
Monogamy as an idea has never really existed. It's just been that the women were supposed to be monogamous. So actually, I do think that there is this whole thing about like this idea that you're supposed to have one partner forever is sort of a way to control women. If you really
Is monogamy all a myth for men?
I believe if you're a charged man with a lot of testosterone in your system, monogamy is a myth, but it depends what you consider monogamy, because you are not truly monogamous if you have the sexual desire to sleep with other women. So these dudes would be like, yeah, I've got my wife, I've only been with my wife for the last 25 years, and you look in their internet history and it's filled with porn and webcam websites and OnlyFans. I'm like, how monogamous are you really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you only have sex with your wife, but the fact that you desire so many other women surely shows and demonstrates that this idea of monogamy is unnatural to you, because if you really felt this way, you wouldn't be lusting over other women at all.
Is monogamy all a myth?
But then we have to go into the other point. The point is this.
Hey man, for the most part, men are really not monogamous. It really is on the man. It takes, whatever his personal growth is that puts him in a position to feel like he can be with someone and just that one person forever. But it's very hard. And we need to really have this conversation in a healthy way and stop attacking men for who they naturally are, which is to be polygamous. Men are not naturally monogamous. And I don't want to hear about women can do it too, because I don't believe that. Men can be monogamous, but it should definitely be a choice.
Like a monogamous type person or what?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay.
No.
Why do you feel like that?
Well, it depends on the person. Like, I don't really settle for anybody. Like, right now in this point in my life. But if it was like the right person, maybe I could be monogamous. But I would have to have like a side hoe, like every once in a while, or else I wouldn't be happy.
Okay, so you feel like deep inside you literally can't be happy unless you have multiple partners.
Yeah.
Okay.
We recently talked about the best.
Hey man, for the most part, men are really not monogamous. It really is
your reproductive strategy is more catered towards monogamy, whilst ours is scattergun. So what you're actually asking a man to do is go against his own biological impulses to cater to you. It's actually unfair to ask that and expect that when you're more naturally catered to behave that way when a man isn't. Of women forget this, and I understand
It seems quite plausible that polyamory is going to be the next sexual minority rights movement. Currently, of course, marriage is defined in strictly monogamous terms, and there are some polyamorous who said that this is unjust and that their relationships should be legally acknowledged in the same way that monogamous people's relationships are acknowledged. But I think that there is a risk of rejecting the monogamous model. Proponents of polyamory would say that in our species history, the most common mating model has been the polygamous model. So when you have one male having multiple female partners, that's about 80% of cultures on the anthropological record have been polygamous. And then the remaining 20% have been monogamous. The monogamous model is the unusual one. We now have very different material conditions in all sorts of ways. We have the pill. We have ways of treating sexually transmitted diseases. We have technologies like the internet, and therefore, why should we be beholden to the mating structures of the past? This is a brave new world with all sorts of new possibilities. So I think the problem with that defense of polyamory is that it overestimates the extent to which we are really capable of controlling our stoning brains. Our brains have not kept pace with the technological change that we've seen. We still are basically adapted to the lives of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. That puts a fairly hard limit on the extent to which we can completely design a utopia on back of the
Salt Lake City, Utah, and the home of Dr. R.C. Ulrich, fundamentalist believer in plural marriage, the practice and preachment of polygamy.
People are free to experiment with all sorts of mating patterns, including polyamory. For some individuals, that's good. In terms of the whole society, though, women and children in particular, the monogamous system is much preferable for all of its flaws.
Monogamous America waits for the answer to the question, how many wives?
Monogamy makes societies more stable, more peaceful, more prosperous. You can compare this quite directly by looking at certain countries which have both monogamous and polygamous systems operating in tandem, and you can see that there are these differences. Households with multiple wives are much more prone to conflict. Stepchildren in particular are much more vulnerable to abuse by their step-parents. It's a phenomenon that evolution biologists call Cinderella effect, described by Steven Pinker as the single greatest risk factor in child abuse ever identified. We've inherited our monogamous marriage system from ancient Rome, which was unusual in having a monogamous model. But Roman sexual ethics was wildly different. Roman culture, including sexual culture, was fairly cruel and shocking. In the Roman world, Harvey Weinstein would have been completely unknowable. The idea that a rich, high-status man should have sexual access to his social inferiors, in particular his slaves, was completely unquestioned in the era of Christianity. Prostitution was completely permissible. The sexual double standard was alive and well, and that men were basically allowed to be as promiscuous and unfaithful as they wanted. Whereas women were expected to check their chastity faithfully and so on. And into this world, in the first century AD, comes Christianity with some very radical, very shocking ideas about sexuality. The idea that yes, women should expect to be chaste, but so should men. The expectation that women should be premarital sex. This is also applied to men. For the first time ever. Often this is a most unwelcome message to men of the first century AD. But for all sorts of complex historical reasons, it caught on, and Christian sexual ethics became the dominant force in Europe and colonies for 2,000 years. And then in the 1960s and onwards, we ended up slowly unravelling the embedded Christian ideas. And we're still on that kind of decristianization course. I think that often feminists make a mistake in assuming that there's a binary between feminist ideas on the one hand and Christian ideas on the other, that they are necessarily in conflict. For all of the downsides of the Christian view of men and women and sexuality, also there is this fundamental idea that the weak should be prized and protected and the strong should restrain themselves, which was radical then and really remains radical now.
Get smarter, faster with videos from the world.
Alrighty, is my mic on? Okay. Yeah, I found that video very insightful because, those first couple of YouTube shorts that we're looking at. Like the first one was talking about like how one person was making the argument that it was used to control monogamy is used to control women, but it was interesting how we were talking about people use the argument that it's like this Christian thing to like oppress, how the Christian standard actually kind of level the playing field when it comes to like double standards for sexuality, because like before Christianity, men weren't required to save sex to marriage, and it's a Christian thing, Christian principles that kind of pushed and caused like, no, both men and women need to kind of save each other for marriage. So I found that very fascinating how we kind of get things kind of twisted. um um so yeah, she touched on some stuff I said earlier, so I won't repeat that. um and so here's the issue. Here's some of the issues with I think people are not considering about polygamy. But actually, before I go into that, let me say this first before I start spewing my thoughts and my opinions. And you're gonna hear me say this every time we talk on a topic that has anything remotely to do with like sexuality. We live in a sex obsessed society. Did I say that right? Sex obsessed society, meaning that the level, the position that sex is placed in both our conversations, in our discord, in politics, is at a artificially, in my opinion, high position. Like we are obsessed about sex. Like the internet is like this amazing tool to connect human beings and share information. And 68% of is like porn. Like there's almost all forms of media have some sort of sexual reference, reference to sex. Sex is used in advertising all over. Like most, like it's crazy. Like if you were to list all the political abortions, something like political talking points here in America, I can't speak for other places in the world, most of them has something to do with sexuality, whether it be LGBT rights, whether it be abortion, whether it be women's right. Like it's crazy how much sex, um, how much of a role sex plays in our right. And don't get me wrong, like some of you, like some people who know me are probably looking at this and laughing like you're saying that, because like like anybody else, I love sex. I think sex is amazing. But there's a difference between loving something and having an obsession. If there's a difference between loving someone and being, obsessed by them. Love is good. Love is great. Loving something and liking something is good. Being obsessed with something, not so great. And so I just want to say that and mention that before I start talking, because I believe in this conversation on polygamy, and we're probably going to get this later at the end of the video, is I think that obsession kind of skews our judgment or skews our decision making or our rationale when we're having these conversations on monogamy versus polygamy. So, all right. So overall, my position, if I didn't say it already, is I don't think polygamy is a good thing. Right? I don't think it's good for society. I don't think it's good for the individuals who engage in it. And let me give you a couple reasons why. And why, you should because it comes across as, well, we'll get to there later. Right? So one of the issues with any sort of, because like I was kind of saying earlier, we're kind of like at a crossroads. We're kind of redefining human sexuality. And I think in a lot of these like progressive liberal sex ideologies, two individuals that like always like seem to be harmed by a lot of these thinkings is like, and she kind of mentioned it in the video, is women and children. I know it's not something that we think about or talk about because there's like over 7 billion people on the planet, but we need to reproduce to continue to exist as a society. I know we don't talk about that, but that's an actual fact. Like, we actually need to reproduce. I'm not saying everyone needs to have a kid or anything like that, but it's an important thing that we continue having more human beings. I think that's something we could all agree on. Also, and this is going back to that kind of like evolutionary or we're just animal kind of argument, is that human children, like, we're not like I think it's like crocodiles or some species of snakes where animal is just born and then the mother, you could just give birth to children and then you leave them to tend for themselves. Like, human children are not like that. We need, like, not most, all human beings, children will die if they're just given birth to, and we just, like, they need some sort of structure, some sort of they need parents to, like, survive. Not only do they need parents, they need parents for, like, a significant portion of their lifespan. Like, they like up to like 15 to 18 years old, we have to be taking care of our kids. I think Chris Rock made a joke how, like, every other animal, it's like 1 year, maybe 2 years at most, you're taking care of the your offspring. We have to do that for 15 years. And so, not only that, it's not just physical needs like food and water and shelter. Human beings are very, like, we need more than that. We need emotion, we need love, we need care, we need security. So, one of the things that I think polygamy undermines is it vastly deprioritizes this structure or this need, or it very highly devalues it or deprioritizes it. Now, granted, not everyone in a polygamous relationship may choose to have kids, but I'm trying to get you at, like, this mindset shift where and I'm actually going to speak more about it in a different live stream about how kids are becoming more of a burden in society. And it also hurts women, like, as she was kind of explaining in that video, like, prior to both standards for both men and women, like, women were more objectified, I feel like, in a polygamous society than in like, for example, like, when in a monogamy, both, like, there's a level of, like, there's more equality injected into the mix when you have, like, two people versus if you have five, one person with three people, or whatever the mix is. So it actually provides more equality, and it actually also prevents women and less objectifying. And which brings me to my second point, is the distribution of relationships, right? So let's just say we all agree, like, oh, okay, monogamy is out the window and we're all just going to be polygamous, right? And if that's the case, that sounds all good and nice in theory, but what actually ends up happening is, as we see this in the like the business world, how things move towards uh like, as human beings, there's this kind of thing where we kind of center around popular people or popular things. So what's actually going to end up happening is that there's less relationships for everyone, because what's actually going to end up happening is that all the popular guys, all the guys with that are that the most attractive, whether it be physically, financially, emotionally, whatever, you're going to have a few guys having all the girls, or it could be even the other way around. It could be a few girls having all the guys, and then there's going to be a whole mass of people left out, that are going to be ostracized or not being considered for a relationship. It's going to be like everyone's like, all it's going to be like, how you have, like, in the business world, like, there's like four or five banks that kind of like rule all every other bank, or in the RV industry is a good example. Like, there's like two or three companies that, like, manufacture all the RVs, right? And so it's gonna become a situation like that, where like a small number of men, have all the women. So that's the one I think like polygamy, and not just polygamy in general, any sort of non-monogamous relationship, whether it be open relationships or whatever. So I think the distribution of relationship is going to be negatively affected. Um, and let me say this, because as I transition to the next section, another thing you need to like consider or think about is like for me, I'm the type of person that's always asking the question why. Why polygamy? Because like it's funny, people make assertions about monogamy, like why people are monogamy is because, oh, it's to control women, or it's to control men, or it's because you're trying to force these Christian values or whatever. But why monogamy? Why does someone want to be monogamous? And despite, I think for me, if people are being honest, despite what someone may tell you, I think the driving force behind like this kind of poly movement is sex. Like like they may say things like, oh, I just want deeper love, or I just have so much love to give. Like I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. Like if you listen to like what most people are saying, the driving force, there may be other factors. I'm not saying that's the only factor, but like the main factor, the driving factor, the predominant factor is I want to have sex with more people, right? And so, with that in mind, you know, is is that necessarily a good thing? Because I think one of the things we forget, or two things we forget. One is that sex has meaning, and two, crap, I just lost my train of thought. One, sex has meaning, and two, damn, I just lost my train of thought. Let's just go with sex have meaning. Maybe I'll find out what the other one was. One is like sex has meaning, right? Meaning that if I remember what the other one was. One, sex has meaning, and there's a benefit to like sexual restraint, right? And I think a lot of people don't. The reason why I think polygamy is so popular is that people don't see the benefit. We've lost the sight of the benefit of sexual restraint. So sex has meaning, right? Like they say communication is what, 80 to 90% nonverbal, right? And so any sort of like interaction we do with each other as human beings, is communicating something, is saying something, right? So sex is actually a form of communication. I know a lot of times we don't think about it that way, but it's a form of communication. Like when you dap somebody up, right? You're communicating to someone. When you nod your head and say, hey, you're not saying, you may not even say, hey, you might just go, you're communicating something. So when you're having sex with someone, that's a form of communication. So it begs the question, what is being communicated when you're having sex, right? What is actually being communicated, and I know most people might not agree with this, but what you're communicating when you have sex with someone is that I belong to you and that you belong to me, right? And I know that might sound shocking to some people because they might like, no, I don't belong to nobody. But think about this: how many, outside of like doctors and medical stuff, and how many people have seen you naked, right? I mean, unless you're like in like the sex work industry or whatever. But outside, like outside of those examples, like, and this goes back to that evolutionary thing we're talking about. Like, we're not just like us seeing human beings seeing each other naked is not a normal thing. It's usually reserved for someone you care about deeply, right? Like, we're not like dogs could walk outside, they all be naked together, and they just go about their business. As humans, we cannot do that because the act of being unclothed, it's a level of vulnerability, right? It's symbolic almost, in a sense. Like when you undress yourself in front of someone, for sexual reasons, I'm talking about, you're communicating, you're saying that I feel so comfortable with you that I'll allow you to see my most inner parts. I'll allow you to touch them. I'll allow you to enter them, right? And so like when we have when one of the things polygamy does is that, because a lot of people, like, especially this is mostly when we're talking about like people who advocate for open relationships, they may use arguments like, oh, it's not fair, or I don't want to keep him captive, like he has needs. Like, first and foremost, sex is not a need. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but sex is not a need. Like, you could go your whole life, live a um fulfilling, happy, even envious by other people's life without ever having sex with somebody. Now, don't get me wrong, sex is great. Sex is amazing. I think sex makes life better, but it's not a need. This goes back to my point of like we're obsessed with sex. Like if I can't have sex with whoever and whenever I want, I'm therefore unhappy. That's signs of an addiction, right? Like, sex is not a need. Sex is good. Sex is great, but it's not a need. So I think a lot of it, what's driving this, the polygamy argument, is people just want to have sex with whoever they want to have sex with, right? That's kind of like what driving it, and the ability, and what that does, and the reason why we do this is when is kind of backed up by hookup culture, is that when we're having sex with people, you know, like, remember what I said earlier, sex is communication. Sex is communicating to someone that I belong to you and you belong to me. But what happens is when we have, a lot of casual sex is like very prevalent in our society today. And when we do engage in that like over and over and over, what we're doing is actually we're going through cognitive dissonance on probably the highest level, because like our bodies is saying, hey, this person is belongs to me, but by doing it casually, we're also saying that, oh, this person's, so our body's kind of like confused. Let me put it this way, right? Dopamine. A lot of times when dopamine is brought up, it's kind of brought up in a negative light, but dopamine is a healthy, normal part of human bodily functions and body chemistry, right? Dopamine is there for a reason. The purpose dopamine, it, like, if you speak to psychologists, it's the reward center of the brain, right? So the whole purpose of dopamine is to indicate, or to embed into you on a deep emotional level, that whatever triggered this dopamine release is important, right? So that's the purpose of dopamine. The problem is, and a lot of people who talk about like dopamine detox, and like, we live in a society where we're just spamming our dopamine. We're like abusing our dopamine. So our body kind of loses, like, instead of dopamine being attached to something, or saying like, oh, or signaling that this thing is very important, or this thing needs to be protected, or this thing is very sacred to me, what tends to happen when we're just spamming dopamine, whether it be sex or anything else, is that we no longer, like, it's the dopamine itself becomes the thing that we want to protect. It's no longer attached to, like, for example, like, when you have sex with one person, or like, you limit your sex with one person, you're attaching that dopamine release to that one person. And so on a deep emotional level that like supersedes logic, your body is telling you that this person is special. This person means a lot to me. But when you go around um having casual sex, your brain starts to realize that it's not the person that matters. What matters is the sensation. And so then we live in a society where we go out and chase the sensation. It doesn't matter who the person is, or who the person is, who she is, he should. All I want is the sensation. And so I think what's fueling this is that we're chasing after the sensation, and that's why we're no longer satisfied with just one person. We're no longer satisfied with one person because we've detached the adrenaline rush, the dopamine release. We detached it from to the person, and we just want the rush in and of itself. That's what we're chasing, right? And so that's I think like the danger, and this phenomena I think shows up in like a lot of different scenarios outside of just sexuality and relationships. But one thing that this does is that we lose the joy or the benefit of like sexual restraint. I think that's probably one of the reasons why we were here in the first place, because we think sexual restraint equals less fun, less pleasure, right? It's like we say in our heads, the less people less the less per it's like the more sex with the most people means more fun, right? There's a word or a term that as I've gotten older, I've been enjoying this term because I see it pop up in so many different areas of life. And the term is the point of diminishing returns, right? So basically what the point of diminishing returns means is that as so let's say, going back to like your math with your x and your y axis with a chart, right? So normally, right, things that are correlated together, right? So like, let's say the amount of hours you work is correlated to how much money you make if you're an hourly employee, right? And so um as the more I work, the more money I can make, the more money I have to spend and enjoy life, right? But what the point of diminishing returns is saying, there's a point, you know, where the more money you have doesn't necessarily translate to more happiness. Maybe if you have, $110, $20 versus having $10, you're probably more happy. You could buy more stuff with it, or maybe we go from $20 to $100. Oh, that creates a lot more happiness. You could do a lot more with $100. Go to $100 to $500. That could increase your happiness quite a bit. $500 to $1,000. But at some point, there's gonna be a point where more money doesn't translate into more, or it translates into less success, or less happiness, overall happiness. That's what I mean by the point of diminishing returns. There's a point, I think, at which an increase in X doesn't translate to an increase in Y. And so when I think it comes to sex and sexual restraint, like when we let our kind of like our for lack of a better word, when we let our dick thinks for us, or our vagina think for us, do all the thinking, like it almost takes control over us. And there's a benefit to sexual restraint. One of the things that it happens is that it prioritizes high quality, I think, sex over quantity. Because I think a lot of people, when it comes to sexuality and sexual pleasure and enjoyment, and I think we want to have sexual enjoyment, but I think what happens with a lot of these ideologies about polygamy is that we value quantity over quality, right? Because it's very hard to be emotionally connected, like on an intimate level, with multiple people. That is something, it's hard to do it with one person. It's extremely hard to do it with one person, much less you're doing it with multiple persons. And so what actually ends up happening, one or two things end up happening. Either A, you're in sort of some relationship where you're what I call an emotional buffet, where you're kind of half committed to like multiple people, right? And like you kind of hear this when you listen to people in polyamorous relationships, how they talk in this particular situation, where one, it's kind of like an emotional. I say it's an emotional buffet because you get a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, but you're never really truly committed to all the people in the group because it's almost impossible to do that. It's hard to do it with just one. It's almost impossible to do it with just one. So, like, let me give you an example. For example, like, let's say you're in a relationship. Like, say you're a guy or girl. It doesn't matter. But and you're in a relationship with three other people, right? You may go. You may your the benefit you get from the relationship is that you go to. Let's say you have three people, right? Um, like person A is very funny, but they're messy, right? So you like person A because they're funny, but they're also messy. So you have person B who is very clean and tidy. So you like person B because they're clean and tidy and they're very good with things around the house. So you're in a relationship with P and Putty, but he's boring. And then you have person C who's really smart and has a lot of money, right? But he doesn't have all the other traits of he's not really funny and he's like okay like with cleaning. So when that's what I mean, like it's an emotional buffet because you never really have to deal with the entire person. So you have this person, you're getting this person just for his funniness and his humorness, but when he gets messy, you get annoyed and mad with him, but you don't have to deal with it, right? Because you could run over person B because he helps compensate for the other person, and but the other person is not really, he doesn't really have a lot of money or whatever, so you go to the other person for money. So you're kind of robbing yourself of the need of like dealing with an entire what I mean, but dealing with an entire human being. Human beings have pros and cons. And so you're getting the pros from person A, B, and C, but you're ignoring or you don't have to deal with all their cons. And that by doing that, the level of relationship you can have with each person is only you could only go so far because you can't have a deep relationship with somebody without exploring their flaws. You have to explore their good and their bad. If you're just exploring the good side or the things that make you happy, your relationship is shallow. Like if you think about any of your really good friends or mentors or parents, like you have arguments, you have fights, you have up times, you have good times, you have times you laugh, you have times you cry, you have all that experience. But I think what happens with like what I call these emotional buffets is that you skip that part. You just get the good from each person, and whenever that person annoys you emotionally, oh, it's this person's time or it's this person's time. And so you have these like, and this is why I really don't really buy this nonsense that, oh, I just have so much love to give and I'm just a deep lover, that's why I'm a polygamous relationship. When you're having more relationships, but each relationship is more superficial because you're not really diving deep to the whole person. And so the last thing I just want to talk about is 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 the need or the understanding of this detachment between like sex and like emotion. Like I like no let me be fair, right? I'm a guy, right? I'm a normal guy as far as I'm concerned. you know I can understand to a degree that the need to want to engage sexually with someone and not really need to. I can understand that as an impulse, as a reaction, as a desire. But it's funny because we just talked about emotions versus logic yesterday, but my logical brain tells me, while that is a very short-term way of thinking, that is not something that you're supposed to indulge in. That's not something that you're supposed to celebrate or supposed to advocate for. Because like people, I don't know if we forgot or we just don't know, but sex is better with an emotional attachment to it. Like I don't know any way you slice it. Yes, I kind of see it like junk food, right? Or fast food. Fast food, it tastes good, it's it excites the taste buds, but like I just don't see it as it's not better to like a sit down like restaurant in terms of quality, in terms of presentation, right? It's just so much. It's a so much better experience to go to a sit down restaurant, to go to fast food. That's how I see this kind of need to uh this need to like just like have an itch, right? And sorry, I was trying to tie this back to that second point I was making, because one the first type of advocates for polygamy are what I call the people with the emotional buffet, and the second type are the people who don't want to be emotional with other people but just have that itch. That's what I'm talking about. Those people who advocate like, oh, I can't just stay with one woman. I love this one woman, but I'm sexually curious. She can't meet my needs sexually, so I need to go out and get it, from somewhere else. But like, this is the main woman that I love and cherish. But like, why do you want to have sexual experiences detached from like the emotion? Like, sex is better. Why would you leave good sex, amazing sex, for like a quick cheap? You know what I'm saying? Like why do you want that? Like sex is better when there's history, when there's emotion, when there's a connection there. Like it's infinitely better. Like there's no need to like do this like, oh, I'm just trying to get my dick wet or whatever you're trying to say. Like that's not necessary. Like that. And also a lot of people like to say that like, oh, I'm I'm damn, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people like to say that, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm strong, or I could, but like, I just don't think that's the case. I think people are just one experience cognitive dissonance, like I was experienced before, where they tell themselves, oh, I'm just doing this because that's what he likes, or I'm just trying to please my man or please my woman or whatever. But like, if you listen to most people, like like, especially in the beginning, they say like how it hurt them, how much it was difficult for them, and then they say like, oh, you get over it or you get strong. I don't think they're getting over it. I think they're getting desensitized to it. Like, why would you want to put your partner, why would you go out and do that if you know how much it affects your partner? Because I think we all, one of the things that monogamy does is that it kind of makes you like we all want that. One of the things that monogamy does is that like we all have that special someone. I think that's something beautiful that we shouldn't just like throw away. For what? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna say that I want to engage in polygamy because, you know what I'm saying, you're I don't know if what I'm making is making sense. You're throwing away something very beautiful, like a monogamous relationship is something very beautiful, for something that like is not giving you much more benefit. Like, it's like going back to what I was saying about point of diminishing returns. Like how much more enjoyment are you getting in a polygamous relationship that you're not getting in a monogamous relationship? And people, is it just sex? Is that all you're getting? Because in I think in a, and this is going back what I was saying in that buffet thing as well, because what a lot of people do, there's a lot of people in sexless marriages or sexless relationships, or they have issues with their relationships, and instead of dealing with it and going through it and building stronger and more fulfilling bonds, they're compensating for that by um going out and getting inferior bonds, like a quick fix or a quick whatever, right? Like, why, instead of having all these different relationships, like, work on that. Like, I think one good relationship outperforms like 1,005 meh relationships, and I think most people will agree to that. I think what happens is people. I think when it comes to relationships, we've gotten lazy, and I think polygamy is like, it's like a quick fix. It's like a quick way out. I don't have to work on perfecting this relation, and this is so true in like so many other fields. right? When in the world of business, they talk about specialize, niche down, niche down. That's how you become successful. That's how you become good at something. But in relationships, we don't want to niche in anything. We want to explore. We want to go try it. Like, that doesn't work. That's not practical. That's a short term strategy. It's not scalable. It doesn't work in the long run. It works. I don't think it works. Like, we tell ourselves it works because we don't want to put into the work in our actual relationships. So it's getting over an hour now. So yeah, I don't know if what I made sense. Felt like I was rambling a little bit, but let me know in the comments, what your thoughts on polygamy are. Do you think monogamy or megamami? Do you think it's outdated? Do you think I'm bugging? What are your thoughts? Let me know on in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll be going live again this Sunday. Sunday social. That's the next time. I'm off tomorrow, for the Sabbath. So Sunday social issue Sunday, and I think the next topic is why people are poor. Right? Talking about why people are poor. Right? And so yeah, I'll see you on the next one. And thanks you all for watching. And I will